Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Balaba Irivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanechari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Now, Mr. Brahman, Shrimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Mahaprabhupada ki, Stone Founder Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanandi, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnu Srimati Bhakti Swami Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Guru Chari Minister Navadi Shikari Sutari. Hare Krishna, everyone. So we read Srimad Bhagavatam verse. We will read from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. And this is chapter 4, we are reading right now, entitled, How Shall I Serve You? And we are at the part where start reading from here. Like the poem, the speech was personal, but Even more than the poem, it was authoritative, philosophical preaching. The God brothers were impressed to hear Abhay presenting the Vaishnava philosophy so expertly. How was it possible? Of course, of course, it should not have come as a surprise. He had heard the Vaishnava philosophy from Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati, just like his God brothers. Why should he not be able to enunciate the teachings of his spiritual master? Having heard from him and having read Gita and Bhagavatam and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, was he not a devotee in the parampara? But until now, no one knew he could preach in English so expertly. Therefore, if the absolute truth is one, about which we think there is no difference of opinion, the Guru also cannot be two. The Acharya Deva to whom we have assembled tonight to offer our humble homage is not the Guru of a sectarian institution or one out of many differing exponents of the truth. On the contrary, he is the Jagat Guru or the Guru of all of us. The only difference is that some obey him wholeheartedly while others do not obey him directly. The Guru of whom Abhay spoke, of course, was Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, the representative of the original compiler of the scriptures, Vyasadeva. Abhay explained how Lord Krishna had delivered transcendental knowledge to Brahma, the creator of this particular universe. From Brahma, the knowledge had descended to Narada, and from Narada to Vyas, from Vyas to Madhava, because Srila Bhakti Siddhanta was presenting the Vedic knowledge as is, without any interpretation in parampara. He was the bona fide acharya who could enlighten others with the revealed knowledge of the Vedas. Abhay continued, gentlemen, our knowledge is so poor, our senses are so imperfect, and our sources are so limited that it is not possible for us to have even the slightest knowledge of the absolute region without surrendering ourselves to the lotus feet of Sri Vyasadeva or his bona fide representative. This transcendental knowledge, Abhay explained, had been known in India for thousands of years, and this knowledge, although presently obscured, was India's real gift to the world. We must conclude that the darkness of the present age is not due to lack of material advancement, but that we have lost the clue to our spiritual advancement, which is the prime necessity of human life and the criterion of the highest type of civilization. Throwing off bombs and from airplanes is no advancement of civilization from the primitive, uncivilized way of dropping big stones on the heads of the enemies from the tops of the hills. Improvement of the art of killing our neighbors by inventing machine guns and by means of poisonous gases is certainly no advancement from primitive barbarism. Priding itself on its art of killing by bows and arrows, nor does the development of a sense of tempered selfishness prove anything more than intellectual animalism. Thus, while others were yet in the womb of historical oblivion, the sages of India had developed a different kind of civilization which enables us to know ourselves. They had discovered that we are not the material entities, but we are all spiritual, permanent, and non-destructible servants of the Absolute. We'll finish here, Leela Mehta, and Srila Prabhupada Leela Mehta ki. And we will read Srimad Bhagavatam. Today's verse is 419, 14. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Please repeat after me. Tam tadrikshatam vriksha. Mene dharmam charinam. Jatilam bhasmanachannam. Tasmai bhanam chamanchati. Tam tadraksha kritim viksha. Mene dharmam saririnam. Jatilam bhasmanachanam. Tasmai bhanam namanchati. Tam tadra shakritam viksha. Mene dharmam saririnam. Jatilam bhasmanachanam. Tasmai bhanam namanchati. Vaishnavi? Vriksha. Mene dharmam saririnam. Nambachanam. Tam tadraksha kritam viksha. Mene dharmam saririnam. Please repeat after me. Translation word after word. Tam him. Tadra sha akritam. In such dress. Viksha after seeing. Mene considered. Dharmam pious or religious. Saririnam having a body. Jatilam having knotted hair. Bhashmana by ashes. Achanam smeared all over the body. Tasmai, unto him, Banam, arrow, Na, not, Munchati, he did relieve. Translation by Srila Prabhupada Ki. King Indra was fraudulently dressed as a sannyasi, having knotted his hair on his head and smeared ashes all over his body. Upon seeing such dress, the son of King Prithu considered Indra a religious man and a pious sannyasi. Therefore, he did not release his arrows. This verse has no purport, so we will be reading few next verses. I'll be reading Sanskrit and translation. Vadhanirvitam tam bhuyo hantavetir adhoj achodayat jahi yagyahanam tata mahindram vibudha. When Atri Muni saw that the son of King Prithu did not kill Indra but returned deceived by him, Atri Muni again instructed him to kill the heavenly king because he thought that Indra had become the lowliest of all demigods due to his impeding the execution of King Prithu's sacrifice. 16. Evam Vanya Sutta Proktas Varamanam Vihayasha Anvad Ravad Abhikurudo Ravanam Riddha Radibha. Being thus informed, the grandson of King Vena immediately began to follow Indra, who was flying through the sky in great haste. He was very angry with him, and he chased him, just as the king of vultures chased Ravana. Text 17. So swam rupam chatadhitva tasma antara hitas swarat virasvapasham adaya pitur yagnam upe yivan. When Indra saw that the son of Prithu was chasing him, he immediately abandoned his false dress and left the horse. Indeed, he disappeared. He disappeared from that very spot. And the great hero, the son of Maharaj Prithu, returned the horse to his father's sacrificial arena. Text 18. Tattasya chadbhutam karma vichaksha paramam shaya namadheyam dadustasmai vijitasva iti prabho. My dear Lord Vidura, when the great sages observed the wonderful prowess of the son of King Prithu, they all agreed to give him the name Vijitasva. Text 19. Upasrajya tamastivram jaharashvam punarhari chasala yupatas channo hiranyarashanam vibhu. My dear Vidura, Indra, being the king of heaven and very powerful, immediately brought a dense darkness upon the sacrificial arena, covering the whole scene in this way. He again took away the horse which was chained with golden shackles near the wooden instrument where animals were sacrificed. Text 20. Atri sandar shayam asha varamanam vihayasha apalakat vangadharam viro nainam abhadata. The great sage Atri again pointed out to the son of King Prithu that Indra was flying through the sky. The great hero, the son of Prithu, chased him again. But when he saw that Indra was carrying in his hand a staff with a skull at the top and was again wearing the dress of a sannyasi, he still chose not to kill him. Atri nachodi tastasmai sandhadhe vishikam rusa sa so swam rupam cha tadhitva tastav antaritasvarat. When the great sage Atri again gave direction, the son of King Prithu became very angry and placed an arrow on his bow. Upon seeing this, King Indra immediately abandoned the false dress of sannyasi and giving up the horse, made himself invisible. Text 22. Viraschasvam upadaya petra yagyam atra brajat tad avadyam hare rupam jaguhur jnana durlabha. Then the great hero Vijitasva, the son of King Prithu, again took the horse and returned to his father's sacrificial arena. Since that time, certain men with the poor fund of knowledge have adopted the dress of a false sannyasi. It was King Indra who introduced this. Purport. Since time immemorial, the sannyas order has carried his tridanda. Later, Sankaracharya introduced the Ekadandi sannyas. A tridandi sannyasi is a Vaishnava sannyasi, and an Ekadandi sannyasi is a Mayavadi sannyasi. There are many other types of sannyasis who are not approved by Vedic ritual. A type of pseudo-sannyas was introduced by Indra when he tried to hide himself from the attack of Vajitasva, the great son of King Prithu. Now there are many different types of sannyasis. Some of them go naked and some of them carry a skull and trident, generally known as Kapalika. All of them were introduced under some meaningless circumstances, and those who have a poor fund of knowledge accept these false sannyasis and their pretenses, although they are not bona fide guides to spiritual advancement. At the present moment, some missionary institution, without referring to the Vedic ritual, have introduced some sannyasis who engage in sinful activities. The sinful activities forbidden by the Shastras are illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling. These so-called sannyasis indulge in all these activities. They eat meat and flesh, fish, eggs, and just about everything. They sometimes drink with the excuse that without alcohol, fish and meat, it is impossible to remain in the cold countries near the Arctic zone. These sannyasis introduce all these sinful activities in the name of serving the poor, and consequently, poor animals are cut to pieces and go into bellies of these sannyasis. As described in the following verses, such sannyasis are pakhandis. Vedic literature states that a person who puts Lord Narayan on the level with Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma immediately becomes a pakhandi. As stated in the Puranas, Yastu Narayanam Devam Brahma Rudradi Daivatai Samat Venaiva Viksheta Sapa Sandhi Bhavedhruvam. In Kali Yuga, the Pakhandis are very prominent. However, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has tried to kill all these Pakhandis by introducing his Sankirtan movement. Those who take advantage of this Sankirtan movement of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness will be able to save themselves from the influence of these Pakhandis. Translation again from text 14. King Indra was fraudulently dressed as sannyasi, having knotted his hair on his head, smeared ashes all over his body. Upon seeing such dress, the son of King Prithu considered Indra a religious man and pious sannyasi. Therefore, he did not release his arrows. Om Jnana Tremendasa Jnananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Alamitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sarvasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna again. So, it's very, very interesting pastime of Bhagavatam. And so here we are seeing Lord Indra, King Indra. So sometimes he has also, People also call him Lord Indra because he's the king of heaven, and he is here acting in a very religious way. So it's very, very bewildering and confusing. So I just want to go back a little bit about what's happening in the past time. Most of us are aware, but just still like to go back and yeah, so we understand what is the reason why it's happening right now. So as we have heard, like King Prithu, he was the son of King Vena. And King Vena, he was very, very, basically very religious, irreligious king. And during his time, when he was ruling the world, everybody was suffering, and all the Brahmanas and every citizen, every single person, they were crying, and because he was basically stopped performing any religious activities. And so there was a disaster. And then we know all the Brahmanas, they decided to kill him. And from King Vena, King Prithu was born. And because King Prithu, he is Sankirsan avatar of Lord Vishnu. And his main, because every time Krishna comes, as we know, Krishna has a specific purpose to fulfill. And in King Prithu pastime, the reason Krishna is here, like in Satyavesha avatar, to set up, to establish good government, and to set everything which was previously during the time of King Vena, has everything was like, disturbed all over the place. And that is the reason King Prithu is performing these Ashwamedha sacrifice, because if these sacrifices perform perfectly, then everyone, not just the human being on the Earth planet, but every living entity, they get immense material and spiritual benefit. Everyone. And so that is the whole reason King Prithu is doing these sacrifices. And just these Ashwamedha sacrifices, they're really, really difficult to perform. And that is the reason, like in Kali Yuga, they are not recommended to perform. The reason being, because in that Yuga also, like in Satya Yuga, other Yugas, they're very, very difficult to perform, because in order to perform the Ashwamedha sacrifice, first of all, is only an emperor, a king can perform these sacrifices. Not only that, all the other kings in the world has to accept his authority. And if even one king, one leader in the country anyway, doesn't accept that emperor authority, then it is impossible to perform this Ashwamedha sacrifice, as we have heard in Bhagavatam. King Yudhishthira also performed Ashwamedha sacrifice, and because obviously Lord Krishna was personally present, and he was a great devotee of the Lord. And similarly, King Prithu is performing this sacrifice, but very, very difficult. And I think it's been described because the reason is because obviously it takes a lot of Lakshmi, a lot of resources, and yeah, like a lot of hard work. Thousands of Brahmanas, they come together, like thousands of Brahmanas, and then they, before even coming and doing this Ashwamedha sacrifice, these Brahmanas, they are performing so many austerities and penances for many thousands of years. Because if it's been described that if this Ashwamedha is performed perfectly, then there's so much benefit. But if if there's any small defect, if anything like is not done properly, then it's a big, basically everybody will get a lot of sinful reaction, not just Brahmanas, everybody who's including, who's included in this sacrifice. So nobody is even there to perform, this Ashwamedha sacrifice. And we can understand that how just one small example comes in my mind is like when we have any big festival in our temple, like Janmashtami, Gaura Purnima, or any other festival, there's so much hard work and so much effort goes, to perform that festival. There's a lot of like hundreds of devotees are, doing tirelessly service for many days prior to the festival, and yeah, and it takes a lot of effort, like money, resources, service, and a lot of things. And just what to speak of a festival, but just a small offering to Sri Radha Giridhari, Jagannath Baldev Subramanian, and Sri Gaur Mithai. It takes a lot of effort. So we can, try to understand, like if just by, just to organize a small, not small, like a big festival for the Lord, it takes a huge effort. So what to speak of organizing and performing this Ashwamedha Yajna. Yeah, so, and the reason is why Lord King Prithu, is doing, because he loves the whole, everyone under him, all the citizens, like his own children. And so the king and queen of the country is considered like father and mother of the country or society, like in the family, like how we have mother and father, they love their children so much, and they want to protect them, and they want to take care of them, and they want to do everything for their benefit. When they're doing anything for their children, parents are not thinking anything about them. They're selflessly trying to serve the children. Similarly, a pious king, a Vedic king, when he's doing anything, he's just thinking for the benefit of the whole society, not thinking for the benefit of himself. And that's what King Prithu is trying to do here. And not only the human being, we read in like a Vedic culture, not only a king loved human being under him, but every living entity, insignificant, like even an animal. So there is everybody basically feels safe and protected. And everybody was feeling safe and protected under the, kingdom of Maharaj Yudhishthira and King Prithu. But now, if we look at the condition of the society today, because obviously the political leaders in the society, because they are not trying to satisfy Krishna, they're not trying to satisfy, they're not performing any yajna for the satisfaction of Vishnu, for the satisfaction of Krishna. So the situation is like, that's basically a terrible situation. Citizens are not happy, and a lot of the times we see that all the citizens, not all, but some, they're doing protest and against the leaders and against the prime minister. And what the leaders are doing, they are sending the police force to control them, right? Rather than finding out the solution, why citizens are not happy and why there's so much problem in the society. But they are just trying to control them, hook or crook, and they just wanna somehow or rather they just want to stick to their position. They just don't want to give it up, and they just want to carry on ruling. But in the Vedic culture, even if one citizen is not happy, then king voluntarily resigned from the post, as we have seen what in King Parikshit, like, he resigned when the whole thing happened, and similarly, Bharat Maharaj, he resigned. The reason these kings, they could resign so easily because they were not attached to the position. They were not attached to the fame, or they were not attached to any popularity. Like, they just was doing that as a service. But it is very, very difficult if we are attached to the position, or like money or fame or anything we're doing. If we attach, then it's really, really hard, and that attachment brings about envy in our heart. And so now the reason the verses which we are reading, King Indra is performing acting in a religious way, because King Indra is also a devotee, but he is attached to his position, right? And this is not the first time he's doing that. He has done many times in the past, and even with Krishna, he tried to, did this. He tried doing the same thing, and now he's doing the same thing again, because he is so attached. And the reason is because King Indra has performed 100 Aswamedha Yagyas, and King Prithu has performed 99, and now he's performing the 100th Yagya. And whenever anybody is performing any sacrifice or doing any austerity, King Indra become very, very, what's the word like? He just become nervous. Yeah, he's just, because he's so attached, and he become nervous, and somehow or other he's just trying to stop the sacrifice, and that's what he's trying to do here. Even though he's a great devotee of the Lord, and he is a king of heaven, which is a great, like, it's a huge post, like, in the material world, but still, because he's not seeing Krishna as Bhaktaram Yagatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, like, he's not seeing Krishna as the beneficiary of all the sacrifices. He's seeing himself, like, same thing happened in Govardhan Leela. He was just thinking like, oh, this sacrifice meant for my satisfaction, for my benefit, but for my worship. How come this little boy Krishna is trying to, stop this sacrifice? And similarly, same thing he's doing here, right? Because he's attached to his service, and he doesn't want King Prithu to perform the 100th Aswamedha Yagya. But because King Indra is a devotee, but he still has some material attachment. He's still in material consciousness, but he's a great devotee. No disrespect, but King Prithu, he is a pure devotee. He is Krishna himself, but he's playing the role of a devotee also. And he doesn't have any material. He's not in material consciousness. He's spiritual consciousness, and he's thinking for the benefit of everyone. He's not thinking for the benefit of himself, and he, as I mentioned, like, he's not doing this to gain anything out of this, just simply for the benefit of all the living entities. And similarly, like, we see that over dear Srila Prabhupada, like, whatever he did, like, he established this wonderful society of devotees, ISKCON. Even he didn't want anything out of it. He just did it for the benefit of the whole world. That's how a pure devotee thinks. And he was doing it like, just to serve his spiritual master. He doesn't, Prabhupada didn't want any fame, and he had no other motivation except just to serve his spiritual master. But still, there were some people, like there were some devotees, even his own god brothers, they were became a bit envious of Prabhupada, right? Because of sometimes what happened, like the envy is described as a really like lust, envy, greed. They're in everyone of us, no matter like. It's a really, really difficult to get rid of these anarthas unless until you're a pure devotee, which is very, very rare. Because sometimes in religious environment also in devotees, sometimes we can become envy of other person if we are not perfectly situated, and if we are in material consciousness, if we are not in Vaikuntha consciousness. Vaikuntha consciousness means that you have no anxiety and you really, really want others. And when you see somebody else doing better than you, you feel really happy, right? And you really feel that you really pray and you really wish that devotee is, do even better. And same we see with Srila Prabhupada when he did whatever he did, but Srila Prabhupada wasn't thinking, oh, now I have done this, and that I don't want anybody else to do better than me. Right? That's what King Indra is thinking, right? But Srila Prabhupada was thinking like he really genuinely wanted all his disciples, all his, every single of his disciples, he wanted that they do better than him. And they do, like he was really genuinely empowering them, and he was really hoping that they would do way better than him, because Srila Prabhupada was a pure devotee of the Lord. Similarly, King Prathu. So, but Indra, he's doing just to satisfy his position. He doesn't mind that the whole world suffer. He doesn't mind, and he's acting in a religious way. So it's a very, very bewildering pastime. And that's one thing I got out of this. And another thing I was thinking is leadership. So 3 main points I wanted to kind of cover. Leadership, which is King Prathu is setting a great example of being the great leader. And envy is obviously Lord King Indra is acting in a religious way because of his envy inside his heart. And then third is detachment, because King Prathu is not attached, he's fully detached. So what's happening here, like when King Indra started to act in this weird way, so as we read, like Atri Muni, he clearly gave clear instruction to son of King Prathu, just kill him. He might be the king of heaven but right now he's not acting in a proper manner. So it is your duty to kill him, because the duty of a Kshatriya, duty of a leader, is to make sure that everybody is engaged in religious activities and nobody is acting in a way that they are creating a problem for the whole society. And so in a Vedic culture, like for a sannyasi, it is also very, very important, that sannyasi is acting in a proper manner. If somebody took up the dress of a sannyas and not acting in a proper manner, then it is the duty of the king to rectify the situation also. Because even the king is a Kshatriya, and he takes guidance from the Brahmana, from the Sindh. But if there is some discrepancies and sannyas, people who are taking up the religious path but not acting in a right way, I think I've heard that the king can rectify the situation. And that's what Atri Muni is telling him to do. But because he is a Vedic king and he is trained how to respect, how to give, how to give proper respect to the sannyasis, and King Indra is in sannyas dress, so he can't do that. And when he saw Indra, he just paid his obeisances and he's giving respect, and he just put away his bow and arrow. And because he's acting in a proper manner, because we see like in Bhagavatam, like when because the king, he might be the, he is the ruler of the whole society, but a king, king called a sannyasi, a brahmana, who is a not bona fide sannyasi. King called bona fide sannyasi Maharaj. Maharaj means a great king. He doesn't consider himself the king, he considers himself the servant of the bona fide spiritual master, the sannyasi. When we see when Vishwamitra Muni came to see Dashrath, King Dashrath, Dashrath got up from his throne and he asked Vishwamitra Muni to sit there. And he, same with Lord Krishna, we see when Brahmana, so Sudama Brahmana is coming, even though he's a Brahmana, but he's not a sannyasi, but still Lord Krishna is acting he's teaching us how to give proper respect to a learned person, the Brahmana, right? And that's what King, the son of King Prithu is doing here. But still, because he couldn't kill him, and then Indra tried to, that Indra, he just suddenly disappeared from the arena, and then they started doing the fire sacrifice again, and then he came back and he stole the horse again, and then it basically was going on it happened for quite a lot of times, and every time he was doing that, it's been described that every time he did that, a unbona fide disciplic succession was introduced, and King Indra was responsible for doing that. And now we see that so many, like religious sect, but they're not acting in a religious way, and they're doing all sort of, as Prabhupada has mentioned in the Prabhupada here, that some of them, like go naked, some of them carrying a skull, some of them have ashes all over his body. So in one way, King Indra introduced all these systems, right? And King Indra is responsible for that. And so when he was kept on doing that, so finally the Brahmanas decided, okay, looks like the situation is getting out of hand here, because son of King Prithu wasn't doing anything, and they decided to take the matter in their own hand. And they thought, if he's not doing anything, we'll do something. And they decided to chant the mantras, and they started chanting the mantras, and they decided, because of the power of the mantras, they will bring Indra, no matter wherever he is, into this sacrifice, and Indra will basically finish. And no, I think prior to that, what happened when King Prithu's son wasn't doing that, so Brahmanas approached King Prithu, because he was the leader, like he's the king. They were telling him, like, looks like your son is not doing anything, but this has to be stopped and you have to do something. And so King Prithu, he took up the bow and arrow and decided to kill Indra. But so then some Brahmana said, this fire sacrifice, fire sacrificial arena, we are about to perform this great sacrifice. And if you kill Indra, then everything will be polluted. Here we meant to sacrifice a horse, not, this is Aswamedha Yagya, not Indra Medha Yagya. So they told him, no, you can't do it. So they decided to take the matter in their own hand. And then they decided to, do that. So after that, when they decided, what happened, and later on, that Lord Brahma appeared. And Lord Brahma tried to stop them. He said to Lord Prithu, he said to Lord King Prithu, that you and Indra is non-different. Both you and Lord Indra, King Indra, is part and parcel of Krishna. You're ruling the earth planet, and King Indra is ruling the heavenly planet. So in one sense, you both are. But King Indra is not acting in a pious way. But if you kill him, if the Brahmanas kill him, then it won't be very pleasing to the Lord, right? By doing that, you won't be pleasing Krishna. So it's best that you don't perform this last 100 Aswamedha sacrifice and you stop here on 99. By doing that, you will become more famous than King Indra. And that's what happened. King Prithu became more famous than King Indra because he took Lord Brahma's guidance, because he was doing that for, as I mentioned, for his own benefit. And he was unattached, and so he was fully detached. He just, as soon as Brahma instructed him, he listened to him, and he just stopped there. And he performed in a pious manner. And he understood that all the sacrifices are meant for the satisfaction of Krishna. Yagya Thak Karmano Nitra, Lokayam Karma Bandhan, that's a sacrifice for the satisfaction of Vishnu has to be performed, otherwise creates bondage. So he was creating for the satisfaction of Vishnu, not for the satisfaction of himself. And he stopped there. And that was really a great example. So he set, and he is setting a great example how a great leader should act, and how he should behave, and how he should, in everything he is doing, he should always be thinking for the benefit of his people who are under his care, not for his own self. And because when we are not doing that, because no matter how much we achieve, if we are not doing anything for the satisfaction of Krishna, as we know, it's all zero, and then it has no meaning if we are not satisfying Krishna. And I think that's all I have to cover. Just before I stop, I think there are a couple of points I've wrote down which I really didn't get a chance to look at them. I'll see if something else I would like to mention. Unless just one another point which I wrote here, and it's I think a great point, and what is happening here. So when we think obviously when we're not saying everything in relation to Krishna, and we're trying to see when we are saying things indifferent to Krishna, then what happened is like what's happening here right now, what Indra is doing. But if we see the things from the point of view of eternal time and everything in relation to Krishna, then even if we have like, even if we have like, you know, like if maybe we possess like a lot of wealth, or maybe we have a great position in the society, or maybe we have, you know, so many other things. But if we see everything in relation to Krishna and from the point of eternal time, everything becomes so insignificant. Because as we see, like for us, we have a very, very small duration of life. We only live for like 56, like 100 years, but now, you know, like, you know, it's reducing. You know, even if you live 75, 80 years, it's considered a very long time. But Lord Brahma, he is living 311 trillion, 40 million years, right? But we understand that even though from our point of view, over calculation, like Lord Brahma has a huge lifespan, but as comparison to Vishnu, Mahavishnu is very small. It's been described that Lord Brahma's lifetime is just when Mahavishnu is, you know, just closing his eyebrow. Because by the time his Mahavishnu eyebrow touches the bottom, the top part touches the bottom part, that's Brahma's life duration. So it's very, very like, yeah, what to speak of us. And so Lord Brahma, but everybody, because of Prakriti Kriyaman and Gunakarman, Sarvasa, Amkar, Vimudatma Kartaham iti manyate, because we are influenced by the different modes and we are thinking that, oh, I'm very significant, right? Lord Brahma is thinking he's significant because we see Lord Brahma also bewildered by Lord Krishna's pastime. He, you know, still all the cows and cowherd boys, right? But when Brahma is looking at demigods, he's thinking, oh, these demigods, you know, they're like, this comparison to me, like they're very insignificant. Their lifespan is very, very small. When demigods looking at the Earth planet, when they're looking at us, they're thinking, oh, and that's what Indra is thinking, like, right? And when we are looking at other living entities like insects, animals, we're thinking, like when we look at ants, when we're looking at it, you know, and we think, oh, what an insignificant life. But everybody in their own way, they are considering that is very significant. So that is another point we wanted to mention. And yeah, as I've one of the things, like as I was mentioning, so we talked about leadership a little bit here, and the king and queen considered father and mother for the society. So it is their responsibility to take care of everyone. And as has been mentioned in the Vedas, so you know, one who is in the leadership position has a great responsibility. So one should not become a father, a mother, a teacher, a leader. What else? A husband? Anything else? Guru, yeah, teacher. If the person cannot deliver people who is, you know, under his care, cannot deliver or cannot give them the real essence of life, which is bhakti. So being in the leadership position is a really, really great responsibility. Or if we have any way, if we have any sort of influence on others, right? And in one sense, like, you know, yeah, we somehow or other, like, we are influencing people, like even if we are not in leadership position, sometimes we are influencing, especially people are looking at us, you know. We have to be very careful about as a devotee, or, you know, as a parent, like, or as a everything, like especially in the leadership position, but overall, we have to be very careful of our actions, how we are acting. And if we are not like here, how Lord Indra is acting, because of him, because he acting not in a religious way, we see the result what happening. So similarly, like if just if we are, you know, like as a parent, as a father and mother, like if we are not acting in a proper manner, so we cannot teach our kids. If we are doing something like, for example, if we are engaged in sinful activities, then there is no way we can teach our kids not to engage in sinful activities, because they would have no respect for us. And similarly, like if a leader of the society, if they are not acting in a pious way, then it's really, really hard for the citizens to be satisfied, and it becomes really hard for them to control the citizen, and nobody is happy, right? But here, when these pious kings, when the Vedic kings are acting in a proper way, then everybody is happy, and everybody is basically, they considered, they love the king and queen also so much, like in the same way king and queen love the citizens so much, and they present so many gifts, and they want to basically, they are happy to sacrifice their life for the pleasure of the king. And in Mahabharata war, like, you know, a lot of the people who were fighting, like, they knew that it's yeah, you know, that they were going to die, but just to satisfy the king, they did that. Yeah. So I think I'll stop here, and thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for listening. And if anybody has any correction, like to add anything, please. And if anyone has any question, I will make an attempt to answer it. And please forgive me if I have, yeah, said something inappropriate. Or Hare Krishna. Does anybody have any comment or question, or anybody would like to add anything? Thank you, Baba. Yeah. All right. We'll stop here. No questions. Thank you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam ki.